Welcome in, everybody. You are listening to the Peace of My Mind podcast. I am your host, J. Scott Gatsby, and today I am recording in front of the iconic Fayetteville mural in downtown Fayetteville featuring the legendary Dreamville artist, J. Cole. And this episode, we will be diving into the therapeutic side of writing lyrics and poetry, especially in the absence of formal therapy. Not only that, we will also be exploring how hip hop and poetry circles and slams became the sound and the setting for oppressed people to be heard and felt. So, no matter what you're doing or where you are, I invite you to join me for this much needed conversation. Let's begin. I feel like the best way to start this conversation is by defining what therapy is, especially as it pertains to mental, emotional, and even spiritual health. Therapy in this context is defined as a method of treating mental and emotional disorders that helps people achieve mental and emotional well being by addressing the psychological origins and emotional manifestations of their challenges. The foundation of the United States is built on the enslavement of African people and the oppression and ethnic genocide of all other people of color. Due to this, the descendants of these marginalized groups have accumulated a mass of emotional and psychological wounds that have been passed down through the generations. This accumulation of trauma has manifested itself in the form of various mental health challenges, such as being at higher risk for conditions such as anxiety, depression, and PTSD, along with increased vulnerability to stress, emotional dysregulation, and substance abuse. This issue is compounded by the fact that these same marginalized groups are systematically limited and often completely disabled from the access and opportunity to experience needed formal psychotherapy. In the absence of this method of rehabilitation, these disenfranchised communities had to get really creative in order to relieve themselves of this ancestral trauma. They did so by way of writing what couldn't seemingly be talked out. From this deeply rooted pain came lyrics and poetry. It's largely agreed upon the vast majority of the psychological community that like-minded individuals naturally gravitate towards each other in a phenomenon known as the similarity attraction effect. According to this phenomenon, people are naturally drawn to those with similar backgrounds, values, interests, and opinions because it creates a sense of comfort, validation, and social success. Due to the similar nature of mistreatment by similar oppressors, marginalized people began first organizing in small groups dating as far back as the 18th century with the Society of Young Ladies, composed of primarily black women in Lynn, Massachusetts. From their revolutionary contribution to creativity, 2 centuries later, the slam poetry movement emerged in Chicago, Illinois, due to Mark Smith initiating the first official poetry slam. This action would go on to cement the format of which poets would follow to share their art with each other. With poetry slams building the sense of community amongst marginalized people, poetry was slowly but surely becoming a primary method of therapy. In the context of hip hop, many creators regard the poet and artist Gil Scott-Heron to be the godfather of both spoken word and rap. His work blended his spoken word pieces over jazz and soul music instrumentals, culminating in what we know now as hip hop. Arguably, his most famous masterpiece, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, is a timeless example of using the combination of instrumentals, lyrical poetry, and cadence to amplify social and political commentary. This went on to provide the powerful voice for social issues that became essential to the identity of hip-hop. As stated in the last episode, hip-hop began as a communal effort in the Bronx, New York, to help raise funds to afford school clothes for the upcoming semester. Due to this event, the foundation of hip-hop was embedded with dreams dreams of progress and better lives in comparison to current situations. Before melodies became the main focus and measure of quality for hip hop songs, it was genuinely the lyrics that attracted people the most. This was primarily due to rapping being more commonly perceived as the art form that it is, of which people became fans of it because of how they resonated with the lyrics. During these early years of hip hop, the lyrics were often described as poetry with cadence written over instrumentals. This is a form of therapy in itself known as poetry therapy. Poetry therapy is often defined as an expressive arts therapy that uses language, stories, and metaphors for healing and personal growth. This type of therapy became way more prominent through the popularization of hip hop music. Rap artists such as Grandmaster Flash and Public Enemy offered socio-political commentary, of which would go on to inspire more modern rap artists such as J. Cole, Nas, Queen Latifah, Yasin Bey, No Name, Andre 3000, and even Kendrick Lamar to expand the landscape of poetic lyrics that also serves as therapy for its listeners. Poetry therapy is vital for marginalized communities because, as previously stated, historically, the people of these communities have been systematically excluded from the access and the opportunity for much needed formal psychotherapy. In this absence, creativity supplied a window for marginalized people to release their generational trauma in a healthy way that held the potential to both build a deeper sense of community amongst themselves and create wealth to alleviate their financial suffering. In conclusion, poetry is much more than sweet words that sometimes rhyme, especially for people sharing generational trauma. Due to the efforts of their ancestors to ensure that there was opportunity for the relief of the stress that comes with being systematically oppressed by way of artistic expression, we now have the gift that is poetry slams to appreciate the stories and feelings of our fellow community members. This kind of expression was expanded upon and developed until it became an efficient form of therapy for marginalized people due to the systemic lack of access to needed formal psychotherapy. As oppressed people became increasingly aware and confident in their voices, they began commenting on their conditions in an attempt to teach others of what the true direction of progress is. This newfound strength eventually birthed the most powerful musical influence the world has ever known, hip hop, of which now serves as the filtered mouthpiece of the descendants of marginalized people that built this country under the most severe conditions. Thank you so much for tuning in for yet another episode of the Peace of My Mind podcast. I appreciate all of you because, as always, y'all never fall short for the love that you have for me. And if you do have a little more to spare, I would deeply appreciate a like if you enjoyed the episode and a comment below to let me know how you feel about the issue. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with the latest episode and other content. And until next time, as always, stay peaceful with love.